Welcome again to the Dementia Care Collaborative's Health and Resiliency Tuesday evening programs. We do this for caregivers and for all people to refill their wells, to have moments of ease and relaxation, and new tools in the toolbox to hopefully calm your nervous systems while also reminding you that you have some choices and places for empowerment. So I'm going to give you a couple of little Zoom logistics. I will say, feel free to keep your camera on or off, whatever is more comfortable. Feel free to be in gallery view to see who's here, or put it in speaker view. Once we get started, I will of course spotlight Emilie, our speaker. This is being recorded so that we can host, this type of meditation in our archives, which is on our website, dementiacarecollaborative.org. If there's anybody who we wind up having a chat, not in the chat box, but we will send this to our editors so that we don't have that on our website, but we will be able to hold the meditation on the website. So if you're thinking about chatting and we're like, oh, we're going to be recorded, you'll be edited out. So don't worry about that. I think those are the logistics. Emilie's going to lead us in the meditation, and there'll be some time for Q&A at the end. Let's see. All right, my colleagues are letting people in. I'm not going to worry about that. So I will just say a little bit about the Dementia Care Collaborative. Many of you have heard this before. Some of you, it's new. This is the Caregiver Support Program, which is part of the Dementia Care Collaborative. And we started at Mass General Hospital in 2017. And we are a part of the Palliative Care and Geriatric Medicine Division. And as many of you know, we have no small mission. Our mission is really to transform memory care. And we exist at MGH to educate, to connect, and to support. And that's for patients, for caregivers, for clinicians, for really everyone in the community. We offer individual care consultations to caregivers and patients in specific MGH clinics. We offer a fundamental skills course for dementia caregivers. We offer support groups. We offer programming like this. We offer our educational forum, Conversations with Caregivers, which is the third Tuesday of every month. Many of you probably got the invitation for that today. October 19th, we're having Pauline Boss speaking about ambiguous loss. So we've got a lot of programs going on. And the one thing that we always mention, but I have to really make sure that I say, especially since my last career was in fundraising, is that this program is 100% philanthropically supported. So if our programs have been of benefit to you, if they've been inspiring, if they've been supportive, if they've been educational, consider a donation. And if you're interested in that, you can always talk to me or Judy or Susan or Barbara or anybody in the program. I think those are the nuts and bolts. I will just ask my colleagues, Judy and Susan, to wave and say hello. I know many of you know them. Judy is the project manager and Susan is our program director. And then I'll stop talking and turn it over to Emilie Reid, who is giving our program tonight. I feel very lucky. I think I've known Emilie for about 5 years, and she's been a wonderful teacher for me for both meditation and yoga. And she's going to introduce herself, and I'm not going to go on and on about it, but she is a wonderful educator and community builder and connector. So I am delighted that Emilie is here tonight.
Thank you, Nori, and welcome everyone. My name is Emilie Reid. I am, as Nori said, yoga or movement and meditation instructor, teacher, guide. I prefer the name guide because my hope is that I guide experiences that can just help you feel a little more connected with yourself and help you feel a little bit more like yourself. So just a very brief overview of tonight, especially for those of you who've got things going on. We're going to break it into a couple different parts. And if you have to leave for some of them, that's totally fine. First, I'll introduce our first experience. I want to get right into something that you can experience for yourself, which will be a self-reiki. and I teach it as a meditation. Then we'll have the Self-reiki experience, which will be about 12 minutes. And then I'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of Reiki and meditation. They're both very similar in the ways in which they can work for us and support healing. And then I'll do a really brief introduction to the loving kindness meditation that I'll guide you through. And we'll have that experience. And after that, we'll open it up for Q&A. So I know it sounds like there's a lot of pieces going on. My hope is that you take just one little piece with you tonight. And if that's just that you took this time for yourself and had a moment away from other things, then that's wonderful. So Reiki, what is Reiki? Some of you may have heard of it. It's a wonderful, non-invasive healing practice. And usually it's done by sharing chi or ki, the ki in Reiki, through the hands. And ki is that universal energy that exists everywhere and everyone. So anyone can practice Reiki or do Reiki, just that some practitioners receive attunements or more education so that they can share it with others. So there is a possibility for you to go to a Reiki appointment and have a Reiki practitioner use their hands either on you or just above you to share the Reiki energy. And Reiki is one of those things kind of like acupuncture. It works even if you don't believe in it, right? And the idea is that by connecting to this universal energy, which you could call anything, prana, chi, there are other words for it in other traditions, that you feel perhaps a little bit more in balance. And that could be inside, it could be also the energy field around you. And that all supports healing for ourselves, whether that's physical, mental, or emotional. So let's get right into it, because my hope is that this will help you connect to something different than you were connected with earlier today or at any point earlier today, and have you receive some of the benefits of that Reiki energy. I'll use a timer, so you might hear a little ding. And the way we're going to do this, I'm just going to back up so you can see. Ideally, you're in a chair. You could be lying down, whatever position is comfortable for you. And I'll guide you to place your hands lightly on 8 different positions in your upper body. And they will be first the head, then the face and eyes. You don't have to push on your eyes, but it's nice to cover them. If you have glasses, you can take them off. And then the back of the head. So you could either have your hands kind of stacked behind your head. I like to kind of stagger them. You're just lightly holding. And if at any point your arms get tired or one arm can only do some of this work, then adjust as you want. You can always have your hands on your lap. Sometimes hands on head gets a little tiring. From there, we'll go to the neck, and you're not going to squeeze your neck. I like to simply kind of imagine I'm using my hands like a scarf to warm or hold my neck. Then the chest, and then the solar plexus, so just below the breastbone. The last 2 positions are fingertips to the navel, so right around the belly button. And then the last one is just below that near the low belly groin area. And so whatever positions feel comfortable, you can do. If you want to skip any of them, you can. You can also send your attention to that place that I've named instead of placing your hands there if you prefer. I find the hands is a really nice way to connect. So we'll get started. There's nothing you need to do here other than the placing of the hands. In fact, if you feel like you want something to think about, you can imagine the warmth of your hands sending that healing energy to that part in your body. So start with the hands on the head and just find a place that feels good. You can sit back in your chair and relax. If it's comfortable, close the eyes. And welcome whatever you experience here. Sensation, feelings, thoughts. Hands to face. Just light touch. Hands to the back of the head. Hands to the throat. Hands to the chest, wherever is comfortable. Fingertips to the sternum. Fingertips to the navel. And finally, hands to the low belly. So be gentle with yourself and give yourself some time to transition. You might slowly open your eyes, look around you, even if your space is familiar. Sometimes things look a little different. And take your time. Often we spend a lot of our day rushing between things, and you can get meditation whiplash if you rush out of it too quickly. But if any of you have the desire to share in the chat, perhaps a word, how you're feeling right now, or 2 words, if you're one of those people who can't pick one. And you don't have to share if you don't want to. It's a prompt you could ask yourself, well, what word am I feeling right now? And sometimes it's hard to put feelings into words. Sharing is a way to validate the experience and also connect with someone else who may also feel that or something similar. So I hear calm, relaxed, softness, grounded, quieter, centered, can breathe. Beautiful. Thank you all for sharing. I feel calm, but I caught myself not breathing. So just real quick, it's often that when we are in a relaxed state, such as during meditation, that we feel both like our body will kind of slump, which is not a problem. It's natural that this happens, and the breath slows. You might feel like your exhales are especially long. So this is not uncommon. As long as you're not uncomfortable with it, then it's probably okay. Grateful. Thank you all for sharing that. That's a very simple practice you can do for yourself. You don't have to go through all 8 hand positions if you don't want. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you remember them exactly. The idea in Reiki is to use the hands to place them anywhere, especially if a part of your body or a place is needing a little extra love. And just send some of that chi, that key energy to yourself. And you can use this with your loved one as well. But I wanted to have it be for you and also have it be a way to start. Thank you for letting me share that. So I want to shift briefly into talking about touching on some of the benefits. Some of you mentioned how you felt, and really embodied experiences is the best way to know what your benefits would be from this kind of practice. And what I love about these practices, and this is not exclusive to meditation or to Reiki, it's many healing traditions, is that often people will feel the benefits immediately. And there is also a cumulative benefit of practicing over time. So it's nice to know that even if you only have a few minutes, once in a blue moon, you'll feel the benefit. And it's also nice to know that you can kind of flex that muscle and practice basically reducing your stress response and activating your sympathetic instead of your parasympathetic. So, excuse me, I said that backwards. Activating your parasympathetic instead of your sympathetic. So, what other benefits are there? For a lot of people, they can reduce the pain symptoms that they feel with practices like this, as well as relieve stress, both of which can do wonders for depression as well. Some people report feeling renewed, restored, just generally more relaxed and rested. And I'll get to that in a moment with the science behind meditation. Often people report feeling a little bit more balanced, whether that's emotionally, physically, and mentally. My first Reiki experience was actually my cousin's wife is a Reiki master. I had a kink in my neck that I just couldn't get out for days. I couldn't turn my head. And she said, lie down on my table. And she didn't even touch me. And I got up from that table and 45 minutes later, and I could turn my head. So, other people report similar things like that, where, it seems to be just that something stuck, and perhaps much like acupuncture, Reiki, and or meditation can just have things flow a little bit more freely than they were before. So let me talk quickly about the science of meditation. And this is one of the reasons why I keep coming back to it myself as a practice. So they've done tons of studies, and some of you may be familiar with some of the studies. It started back in the 60s and 70s, and my meditation teacher, who is Lauren Roche, was actually involved at UCLA in the lab, both as one of the guinea pigs, but also then in the meditation studies. And then they continued on at Harvard, and what they found is that for example, in sleep, which is like your body's way of purposefully knocking you out. It's like, you're not allowed to be awake for this because there's a lot of repair work we need to do, right? So every night, hopefully, your body knocks you out to do a lot of repair and restore work that by most accounts would probably just be too intense for us to be awake for. Anyway, your body during sleep drops its oxygen consumption level, and that's a good thing. Some people go like, oh my God, oxygen, I need it. But what it is oxygen consumption rates tell you how hard the body's working to do its job. And in sleep, that slowly reduces about 8% than when you're awake and normally active. But it takes 4 to 5 hours to get to that point. And it's in that very relaxed state, that relaxed point, that a lot of the deep repair work is happening in sleep. Well, what happens in meditation is that the oxygen consumption rate drops below 8% to 12 to 18% lower in less than 3 to 5 minutes. So we have this immediate drop into this very restoring place. Now, that's not to say that that meditation is a replacement for sleep. Sleep is necessary. It's more important than meditation, and it's okay to fall asleep in meditation. It means perhaps that you're sleep deprived if it happens regularly. But I wanted to share that with you because it is so often why, and it explains why so many people feel, even just after a few minutes, like, oh, wow, okay, whew, I can get up and keep going again, in a similar way to how many people feel when they sleep for 5, 6, 8 hours. It's also why when you're sleeping less than 4 hours, you may not get to that point. So it may be really hard to do that deep repair work, and you might be working with a sleep deficit. Anyway, I share that in case some of you nerds out there like me enjoy those kinds of facts, and it helps me to know what's going on, a little bit of what's going on, even though my body's more intelligent than I could ever imagine. So there are many kinds of meditation. I picked one tonight called loving kindness meditation that has Buddhist roots. And there are some Buddhist overlaps with Reiki as well. But the Buddhist tradition values compassion very highly. And so this practice is very much cultivating friendliness towards yourself and towards others. So the practice is simple in the sense that we will repeat a set of words, and I'll guide you through it. I'll say it out loud, and you can repeat it to yourself. I'll also share my screen in a moment so you can read them if you'd like. You can snap a screenshot, but I do think that Nori, the administrator here, in terms of Zoom world, will be sending it out as well if you want a copy of it to work with. This is just my version of a loving kindness meditation. Yeah, Nori confirmed that she will be sending it out afterwards to everyone who's here. There are many different variations on the similar theme. So if you've ever practiced it before, you might hear the wording is a little bit different this time. So it's really up to you if you want to use different words when you practice on your own. But these are the ones that I've memorized in my bones and that work for me. So I hope that you'll get something out of it right now. We always start with the self and put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you take care of others. So that's how we will begin, and I will lead you through. It'll be a few minutes, and then you can share some reflections and some questions afterwards. Sound good? All right, let me share my screen so you can see the mantras or words that I've prepared. And again, these can vary if you ever look this up on the internet. There are probably there's a loving kindness meditation for every human on the planet. So be comfortable. You can lie down for this. You can be seated however you wish. Relax into your chair. And I like to not force the eyes closed. If they're still open, you might look around your space. You might notice yourself breathing. And then usually after a few moments, the eyes will close on their own. And that just helps those little muscles on the corners of your eyes relax a bit more. Notice your experience, your natural rhythms of breath and heartbeat. And welcome whatever you're experiencing right now. Thoughts, feelings, sensations. And in a moment, I'll share each one of these phrases out loud, and you can repeat them softly to yourself in your head, or if you prefer, a whisper. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be safe from harm. May I know happiness. And the true root of happiness. May I know ease and well-being. In body, mind, and spirit. Notice what it feels like to wish yourself well. Much like you might talk to your pet or a small child. And then bring to mind someone, anyone. I usually say the first person that pops up is the right one, but you can decide. And with that same sweet friendly voice. Say to yourself, may you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be safe from harm. May you know happiness and the true root of happiness. May you know ease and well being in body, mind, and spirit. Notice what it feels like to wish this person well, no matter your relationship to them. And then take this loving kindness that you've cultivated for yourself and this other person, and let's send it out to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe from harm. May all beings know happiness. And the true root of happiness. May all beings know ease and well being in body, mind, and spirit. Notice what it feels like to wish all beings well, you being a part of that. And be gentle with yourself as you move slowly away from this deep inner place. Maybe you become aware of where you are and how your body's arranged. At some point, perhaps your eyes open to take in the light. And if, much like before, there's a word that you're feeling, could be the same one as before, maybe something different, and you'd like to share it in the chat, please feel free to pop in and then there. And also, if you have a question that you want me to get to, that you'd rather speak in the chat than in out loud, it's a great place for that as well. I see very relaxed, grounded. Yeah, any and all reflections are welcome. Could be about a question about meditation in general, Reiki, or the loving kindness meditation that we just did. Before I open it up, I wanted to mention a couple of the ways that I sometimes use that meditation. I don't always use it in the same way that we just did, which is, sit down, close my eyes, and have a really nice, relaxing time, hopefully. Sometimes these words are so embedded in me, and some other people who use loving kindness meditations or mantras in general will have words that are so embedded, you might have some too, that it's what I say to myself when something is going on that I really don't like. So for example, on an airplane, when that little like woo happens and things get a little rough, it's like, oh, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be safe. Right? And then it just makes it a little bit easier. Sometimes it's eyes open on the road, somebody's in front of me or traffic. May I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be safe, instead of whatever else I might say out loud to the other drivers around me. So, those are just some examples when you're dealing with your kids or your loved ones, whether you're caring for them or yourselves, like, whew, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be safe. So I want to just comment on one of the shares, which was someone said that they're feeling a little sad but grateful. And this is something that is very common feeling in meditation. And I don't know what your specific experience was with this, but this feeling of sort of bittersweetness, especially when we invoke or think of someone other than ourselves, or even ourselves, that we can both be so happy to be thinking of them or have them on our minds, but maybe miss them if they're not with us, or feel, that we want to comfort them if they're in pain. And so this is sometimes why people stop meditating, because they're like, oh, I don't want to feel sad. But oh, how wonderful to be connected. And that's similar to that Reiki experience that we had. This connection to the universal energy, which can connect us to anyone, anywhere, at any time, whether they're living or not, through experiences like this. So it's one of the many gifts. Yes. So any questions or comments? Nori, are you moderating, or how do you want to organize the Q&A?
I would just say, this is being recorded, so feel free to put it in your chat. But, this is these programs are really geared to be more experiential. So feel free to come off of mute if there's anything you want to share. Sometimes, that somebody shared it sometimes feels a little sad. I think sometimes people have a perception that meditation might bring you to some magical unicorn place. And sometimes it can be an emotional place. So feel free. Nothing is negative or positive, but any reflection is welcome, or any question. If you're curious about this type of meditation or other meditations, the floor is yours. Karen, yeah.
Thank you for your question, Karen. And if my teachers are any indication, I would like to say yes. And it certainly would be a good reason for me to keep going. I always like to have to know why I'm doing something, and it makes the impact even more. So if that's your why, like, hey, I'm going to meditate so I keep looking 10 years younger, then awesome. If that gets you there, great. My big why is that I share what I share: meditation, yoga, and seasonal self-care through Ayurveda, because I hope that my kids grow up in a world that cares about their health and well-being. So that's the reason I get up in the morning.
Yes, I had to ask because I heard that once. So
Yeah.
is all
Yeah.
of that connected, the meditation, the yoga, and the Ayurveda?
And meditation, there are so many different traditions that have meditation techniques and styles. And I love the loving kindness meditation because it tends to be really accessible and a very easy to grasp in a moment of whether there's just a lot going on in your life or not. Often I find that people get turned off by meditation because they attempt to sit down in a potentially not so comfortable position. If it's cross-legged, for example, that doesn't work for everybody. And then they expect or hope that their mind suddenly becomes empty, which is practically impossible for us to do in real life. So why would it happen in meditation, kind of thing? But that could be a conversation for another day too. But often there's so many thoughts that they have in those moments that they get turned off. They're like, oh, I'm not doing it right, or I'm not able to do it, or it's not helping me. And I like what one of the things my meditation teacher says is, like, often in meditation, what comes up is a lot of unfinished conversations, whether it's with yourself or with a loved one. Sometimes it's with, like, my husband, even though I live with him and he's around. We talk all the time, but there are just things that kind of get worked out in meditation, kind of like when you get a massage. You're not always comfortable, but they kind of your muscles get worked on. And the overall feeling, maybe not during meditation, but afterwards, is one of restore and renewal, and perhaps figuring some of that stuff out, even if doesn't feel like you've had that conversation with someone in real life. Maybe you've figured some out. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Emilie, I want to reflect on a few other things in the chat. Susan says, I use this meditation in the doctor's office while I'm waiting for the doctor to come in and my blood pressure drops. So a very tangible, in the present moment effect while waiting in that doctor's office.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Let's see, someone else. Oh, I just want to read one more chat and then Kathy, go for it. Somebody says calmer, but now more self-aware of underlying anxiety. We'll work on more meditation practice. And they say, thank you for this gift. And then maybe just quickly responding to this question, then Kathy, I know, had her hand up. Somebody asked before if Reiki or meditation can help you sleep or fall asleep.
I would say yes to that last question. Often, if you've had a very active day or an active life, and because we're here living in the world, we care about many things and people. So that is quite possible. And especially this time of year in the fall, people tend to have just a little bit more scattered energy, just like the leaves that are fluttering around off of the trees right now. And so doing this just before bed can be really, really helpful. I often suggest to people not to do it, like to do it either right before bed or much earlier in the day. Because if you do it, say, for example, at like, if you're trying to go to bed at 10, just for example, and you do the meditation at 7, you might just get so restored that you're kind of awake longer than you want to be afterwards. That can be something that happens for people. But obviously, if you need sleep, then please invite that. I also want to touch on the blood pressure thing. Yeah, this was many years ago now, but when I did my month-long teacher training, which was at Kripalu, which is in Massachusetts as well, I happened to be at the doctor's office just about a few days before I left for the month and then afterwards. And my blood pressure from spending a month doing a lot of meditation and yoga in this very nice, lovely environment meant that they couldn't actually read my blood pressure because it had dropped so low. Yeah, which is a whole other problem in and of itself for some people. And I know one of my instructors actually has that chronic problem just from the years of doing so much of this. My hope is that it can at least help us regulate between, an active sort of fight or flight or stress mode and a more relaxed mode. And that is by helping us practice that rest and digest response. And the more we practice it, the much easier and quicker we're going to get into that, which can absolutely help us drop into sleep. Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking, Kathy. So I have a website. It's seasonalintentions.com. Maybe you can drop it in the chat for people. And I do have a little 9-minute meditation on there that I can actually find that exact link and send it to Nori so she can pass it out if that's appropriate afterwards.
Thank you.
And then I have a YouTube channel too, so you can find me there. Seasonal Intentions is the name of my company and my website.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for tonight. It was lovely.
Of course, you're welcome.
Thank you. I will say it is 6:28. I mean, we're not going to be like, but if anybody else has any lingering questions or comments or reflections, or Susan.
Susan.
I would just like to ask the group if you wouldn't mind just dropping in the chat if you would like to do this again, because I find that sitting with people, especially people that you respect and admire and feel so much for, I feel very connected to this group, and it's just helpful to sit together, just to take half an hour to sit together. So just if you want to drop in the chat, if you'd be interested in doing it again, that's helpful.
All right. Well, looks like
Thank you, Susan.
Sharon and Roberta say yes, and Karen. I will say lots of resounding yeses. We will have the opportunity, certainly, to sit together again. Emilie will be back the first Tuesday in November, which is November 2nd. And Emilie, I know you're preparing a meditation on the senses. So using all of our senses as windows or portals or gateways to meditation, because meditation isn't just sitting on a cushion following your breath. There's many access points.
Yeah, and Susan, you bring up such a wonderful point, which is, it's one thing to have an experience by yourself. It's one thing to have one, when you're watching a YouTube video and being guided, or through an audio, for example. But the energy of the group, even though we're here together in this virtual room, is very powerful, and that speaks to that Reiki energy, universal energy that is just everywhere and connects us to everyone. So I so appreciate your being here and your presence and your practice, and I look forward to seeing you maybe next month.
All right. Thank you so much, Emilie. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you, Nori.
attending.
Thank you.
We hope to see you again November 2nd, and maybe again after that, because it resonates so strongly with me what Susan and Emilie said, the power of community. That's a big part of the Dementia Care Collaborative is to come together and share these experiences. Even if we're in these boxes, there is an energetic resonance when we are together. So thank you, everybody. Oh,
Thank
I never
you.
changed the spotlight from people talking. Oh,
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
Good.
much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good
restful
night.
evening.
Thank you.